Now this is very late Brahms, and it's often done in a religious context, but it's actually saying, isn't it, like a lot of the German Requiem and like a lot of the four serious songs, which appear to be religious songs, but they're actually saying there's no religion, there's no hope. There's no God, there's nothing else. As soon as you die, all you can hope for is to be cured. Genesen. And not gewesen means past tense, has been, you are no longer here, but you are cured. The bills don't come anymore. You are actually spared. You know, the pain stops. And one feels this so eloquently that this is Brahms' own feeling, as he was, he actually died of, very early on. He was 63 or 4 and looked hugely old. Just like 63 or 4 Britain died looking hugely old, and just like 63 or 4 Poulenc died looking very old. It's a sort of danger period, that early 60s. Anyway, let's just start this and see how we go. This is a very great song. Thank you. I'd just like to go through that, but I really think you have this extraordinary color in your voice that you don't very often hear these days. You remind me of some of the famous singers of the past. It's got that a connection and color that is actually very unusual in young singers of the present day, in my opinion. And that actually, but I mean, it's also a connection with the chest and also a certain, I like it very much. Beware sometimes of using just a bit too much vibrato.
Yeah.
That can actually become almost a parody.
And pushed, yeah.
But in fact, the actual essential compassionate color of the voice is ideally suited to a composer like this. You'd have to be rather more disciplined if you were doing Schubert. Do you see what I mean? But later 19th century stuff, I mean, Brahms loved voices, soprano voices that had mezzo colors. And he fell in love regularly with mezzos, like Hermina Spies and people like that. And there are various, Alice Barbi, there are various singers in his life. Just be careful that you don't get too fast. Manch vergessenem Grab has to be better managed.
Okay.
With
Yeah.
the word manch, you can't be manch vergessen.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really, ich war ein Manch. And that's one of the reasons, well,
Der Tag ging regenschwer, an Sturm bewegt. Ich war an manch vergessenem Grab gewesen.
That's the only thing that I would say, that at the expense, the color that you're getting, which is so interesting, is sometimes using a lot of breath.
Yeah.
You have to be able to get Ich war ein Manch vergessener Grab somehow gewesen. And I was doing it slightly faster to help you. But it's a question of judging whether the intensity of sound, the use and the husbanding of breath. There have been some very great singers who've been very short breath. Lottie Lehmann was a great example of somebody who had almost very short breath. But in this particular thing, it's not good between after Manch, and it's certainly not good, really good before gewesen.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's
Yeah.
pass over that and go on.
Verwittert Stein und Kreuz, die Kränze alt, die Namen überwachsen, kommt zu lesen.
Yeah, I don't think you...
In one phrase.
Yeah, I don't think you need to make such a meal of the Kaum zu lesen.
Yeah, yeah.
You're just thinking, I can scarcely read that. It isn't. Yeah, it's a shame that time and the weather has taken the names away, but you're making it a 22-karat gold disaster. I can't read the graves.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just an observation.
Right.
You don't have to make quite so much of it. Anyway, it's a question also of taking up to that E a certain depth. It's quite dangerous. I mean, it can be very beautiful. I really don't understand your technique yet, but I'm quite mesmerized by some of the things you do. Just carry on for the second part.
Okay.
Der Tag ging Sturm bewegt und Regen schwer. Auf allen Gräbern fror das Wort gewesen. Wie Sturm ist dort dieser geschmorten auf allen Gräbern taute
You can actually make, one can actually make really more warmth of sound. In this particular music, the basses, the color, there is a sort of a luxurious, the pictures of Brahms sitting with his large stomach going like this and smoking a cigar at the same time. And one feels the heavy furnishings and velvet drapings of you know, the late Victorian. This is the Victorian era translated into Viennese terms. Very, very nice. I mean, there are certain things that need to be sorted out, I think, but I think you have a strong personality, and I'd really like to have worked with you on some repertoire where you weren't allowed to use those colours and where you'd have to find other colours.
Yeah. I'd love to.
You've chosen, at least this music does actually really suit you. And again, it's absolutely hideous that we've come to the end of this time, and I just wanted to say a few words at the end to the public to wind up, and I just, and thank you both very much. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this evening with these very talented singers and pianists, we've merely scratched the surface. Music like this, which has both a mother and a father in terms of composer and poet, has so many proliferations of interest like a rippling pool. Once one becomes interested in the poetry and the poet, that is a contributory factor to the art song. And then what the composer does with it, bearing in mind that the first thing he has encountered are these books of words where there's no music, and the music is then born. It's not a question of Tin Pan Alley where tunes are made up and people put words afterwards. The words come first. And as such, there are so many opportunities for depth. Well, we can spend our lives in this field, as I have, finding out not only things that have a bearing in terms of playing, and to be fully aware of the information as to be best armed how to perform. Having information at your fingertips creates the sense of ownership and freedom that can actually enable a type of performance where one feels that this is my music. I have the right to do this. I'm not skating around the edges. This is something that I can say I have owned because I have invested my life and energy in it. And I'll say this, there are so many opportunities in the world of drama and theatre, so much more glamorous, so much better attended, so much greater enthusiasm. But the challenges of being up here in this space here, if you are prepared to remain close to your partner and continue to make changes. Without a conductor, that's the big difference. Nobody telling you from there how it has to be shaped. Nobody telling you where you have to move. Nobody treating you as a person who's just a cog in the wheel of a production. Your own feelings, your own freedom, and working in symbiosis, working in close collaboration with a pianist where there's a type of exchange of energy between pianist and singer as the time goes on. This is a very special and liberating experience. And in my experience, those people who have worked on the stage with colleagues and learnt how to give themselves to opera are very often very lucky to have that experience when it comes to singing. But those people who have actually learnt their songs, fought for them, felt for them, and studied them, are also marvelously equipped to do the same thing in their opera roles. In other words, the two seemingly contradictory art forms feed off each other and complement each other. And the full artist is someone who not only does opera and song in various languages and oratorio, an instrument and a brain and a mentality and a heart, putting himself or herself at the service of the composer. And being at the service of the composer in whatever part of the world he may come from, whether he's a German or an Englishman or a Frenchman, in whatever language he happens to have written, in whatever century he happens to have composed, what challenges these are, but what heart-stoppingly wonderful challenges, because they involve imaginative outreach into the past, not only in terms of studying in books, but in terms of developing the empathy and the depth of response that is also a hugely important part of every performer's armory. The ability to do music not only as something that exists on a score, but something that can be filtered through your own being, so that what you provide is totally your own and yet still totally that belongs to the composer. That art of self-subjugation that, instead of trampling on your personality, enhances and makes your personality even greater because of the act of allowing yourself to surrender to the composer's demands. So whether or not it's some pianist talking about Schubert or Schumann, or some great Italian coach remonstrating with you that you should know the difference between Bellini and Donizetti just when you thought they were the same composer, which they definitely are not, as the great singers of that composer, the great singer of that composer here would agree. That element of going into the details so that you appear to have to put everything at your disposal out for the composer, in the end feeds back to you in a type of personal freedom and in a type of artistic flight that is unequaled. And so it's not just a question of you being you with your voice and doing an up-tempo or slow-tempo standard. You are going into a labyrinthine maze of an incredibly different kind. But the true freedom and greatness that some of you will reach, it will simply be because you are helped there by the markings, by the specific demands of what the composer has given you. And in giving you these specific demands, he's not imprisoning you, but he's freeing you. He's freeing you because, in a sense, having a great person still live even though they may technically be in the grave, having the spirit of that person shining from the page, as I believe he does with Schubert and Schumann and all the composers we've had this evening. It's like they are still there with us and still helping us and still very much part of us. These are our masters. And we, like Sachs says, we should learn to serve our masters. And in serving our masters, it's a lifelong privilege. And I'm absolutely certain that those singers who bypass this aspect of, you can call it genuflection, you can call it subjugation, you can call it surrender, those who bypass that in favor of the sheer enjoyment of enjoying their talent and their volume and their sound and the sheer pleasure they have in being talented. An empty victory in the end. Because we need years and years of discussion and talking and exchange like we've done this evening to make the best of yourself and to become the real communicating artist that I believe we can be if we put our minds to it, our hearts to it, our energies to it. Thank you very much.